Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Live with Bill Tucci.
Behold his mighty hand.
Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang.
Just want to manage expectations.
Moo! Bah!
This is the worst.
Oh yeah, there's the bell.
Salute.
Oh yeah, salute.
What are you drinking?
Oh, this is the strongest seltzer water you could get.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci. As with me always is my trusty compadre in arms.
Right here. Billy.
Tonight, we're going to have a fun show tonight. We're going to introduce two of my oldest friends in the whole world, Scala. I don't know if you know this.
I do know this.
Two men I greatly admire. They're handsome men, incredibly talented chaps, and giants in their own field. And now they are once again delving into the world of comics.
Wow.
And with their creator-owned book, Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge.
I gotta ask you, Billy, though, the photos you keep of them in your wallet, I mean, they're pretty worn out. You think maybe you could ask them for a couple headshots to keep in there?
Well, I want the photos of them from 7th grade still, though.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
It's been a long week. Debbie's got a migraine now.
Oh,
I had no
dear.
dinner.
Oh dear.
So now I'm just gonna have to drink my dinner.
There you go. It's gonna be fun for
without
Debbie
further ado,
later.
why don't we bring in the how about we bring in the editorial board for Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge, and introduce him, longtime pal who's been with the Pop XP since the very first episode. Actually, he was with us on our pre-launch episode, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was our guinea pig.
Our guinea
He kept
pig.
telling us not to do it, but we're still here, man.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, or don't, as if people remember, I believe it was Dr. Morris used to say that in 7th grade English. The one and the only JC Tex Vaughn. Hello, old bean. What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Oh, I'm bringing him on, and you took him off. Because you ran.
I was like, that's my briefest appearance ever.
660 episodes, and we still have troubles with you.
And look at this way. Look at it this way. I'm not frozen.
I know.
Ooh.
That was pretty early on. That lasted for
That
a
was-
long
that
time.
was the
Frozen
pilot
bald guy.
episode. That was the pilot episode.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be fun. We're going to have a great show tonight. As you guys all know, we go about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Hey, Nicholas, what's up, brother? We're going to, let's introduce our creative team. Why don't we bring in, first of all, let's bring in the mastermind behind it, the mad scientist, the one whose fault it is that we're actually here tonight on a Thursday. One of my great friends, a man I greatly admire, big fan, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the immortal, Steve Perros.
Hello, Billy. How are you?
Hello, Steven. How are you?
Hello, Nile. Hi,
Hello.
Jason. Vaughn. These are the ashes of revenge, my friends.
Oh, that means I'm gonna have to have some ashes of revenge as well.
Thank you guys for hosting this. I am beyond excited to be here. I'm trying to keep myself calm so I don't start at 11. You know, Billy is a good reference for all of us to not start at 11.
Thank you.
You got nowhere to go. But I'm excited to be here. I still don't understand Billy's Jack Nicholson glasses. His eyes are the window to the soul. I lose you, Billy, when you're too hip for me sometimes.
Jeff, can you explain to Steven why I wear the sunglasses?
Well, you are the drummer.
Thank you.
Cheers. A little single malt scotch to toast you
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Well, I am drinking real quick. You know what? Why don't we bring in? Why don't you introduce
I
your
will.
compadre in crime? How do we say
The
crime?
gentleman we're about to bring on, Barry Orkin, is an artist. He is a true artist. I have known Billy Tucci and Barry Orkin since 7th grade, which is about 12 years ago,
Yep.
and we have stayed friends ever since. We went to different colleges, different corners of the globe at times, but we've always stayed in touch, stayed friends, and now in some ways more so than ever. And it was a thrill for me to work with Barry on that first book. Barry just Art just blew everybody away, and he's doing it again. The level to which the two of us have grown in our craft, our respective craft and graphic novels is I'm excited to be able to share that with everybody, particularly those who love the first book. So please, without any further ado, the great, the one and only, the immeasurable Barry Orkin.
I'm bringing him in, Nile. There you go. Hey, Barry.
Greetings.
What's up, brother? So you are going. You're getting up at 4:30 a.m.
I am indeed.
We won't keep you too long. We're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna, as those of you guys out there watch, we are now over 650 episodes of crowdfunding comics / the Pop XP, and of those 650 shows, would you say, Niall, that 600 of them have been about crowdfunding? Correct?
I would agree. I would say
creators
so.
and all. So we're gonna answer some questions. We're gonna go through the campaign. Steve, you said you're drinking a single malt.
I am indeed, sir.
I am drinking a Fort Hamilton. It's a double barrel. He calls it a whiskey, bourbon whiskey. An Englishman has it. It's brewed here in New York, and this was at the Whiskey Festival, Barry.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yep. I know. Well, we got home, and my buddy Tony and I and Dave, we kind of drank half of it.
That looks nice. Well, I want to say, actually, I do want to point out, give a salute to a new dear friend of mine who I've met courtesy of Billy and JC Tex Vaughn, a guy named Mark Haynes, a fine writer in his own right, and we'll be doing a panel down at San Diego Comic-Con this year about adapting books and television shows to comics.
Oh, that's
so
great.
You'll want to come down to San Diego to see that. He left at this house for good safekeeping, according to him, a couple of bottles of single malt scotch.
Oh, very cool label there.
And there is no greater fool than a man who leaves a bottle of single malt scotch in my clutches for safekeeping, because those two don't really go together. But I thank Mark. Hey, there's my beautiful girlfriend Dina.
Hello, Dina.
Clapping for us.
Yeah, let's keep you and Mark far away from one another until San Diego, because he'll come back looking for that scotch, I think. So we can take a look at the campaigns. Is that how should we do that? We'll look at the campaign. We're going to go through. First of all, we should say hi to everybody. Of course, the beautiful Dina, Eric, what's up, brother? Randy Howell, of course, Nicholas Gear, the immensely talented Nicholas Gear. Good to see you, Marcus Killigrew, Dan Genovese, John, Dan. Garden State Comic Fest, correct, brother? He says, hail Billy and hail Nile.
What's up, Dan?
Praetor 7, the Tuccinator, the Tucc Meister. Ara Galanian, the Armenian Knight, who I got the pleasure and the privilege of meeting Ara, Debbie and I at Boston.
Good evening, Ara. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you get a kick out of what you're going to see.
Yep, and I hugged him. I think he was kind of taken aback by that. I'm like, hey. Oh, Larry Leonardo, Steve. Larry joined in on our Greek night at San Diego Comic-Con last year, I believe it was, and he partook in the festivities in the ballyhoo.
Excellent. Of course, Larry always posts excellent stuff on Facebook. If you're not a Facebook friend of Larry Leonardo, you're no kind of Facebook friend.
That's right. And thank you, everybody. We're streaming now live on Facebook, correct? Niall?
We're on Facebook and YouTube right now. We're on the Pop XP Facebook page, Pop XP YouTube page, my personal Facebook page, Billy's personal Facebook page. We're just hammering everyone.
You guys are amazing. I so appreciate this. We're friends, but you know what? Time is valuable. Business is You got a lot of people you could have put on tonight, and I'm just want to just express my real gratitude that you guys booked me in this slot a couple of 3 months ago when I said that this is when I wanted to launch. So thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you from me
Yes,
as well.
thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
the PayPal cleared really quick, so we're good to go, Steve. Come on, you know this.
Hey man,
So-
$10 is $10.
Exactly.
Let's open up the campaign. You said you're going to go. Oh, you already went live. Ha ha!
Oh, we went live just before we went on, and
Thank
got
you.
a couple of bucks in the coffer.
Right.
Thank you,
There
folks.
you go.
209,
Six-packer.
and I have to say, one of the perks up there. I hope you put it up there, Stephen. Did you?
It was what?
The original art.
Yes, of course it is.
All right, so here is my original Stoker and Wells cover art. It's
Is
up there
that
for
gorgeous?
reduced price.
Mhm.
If Debbie knew how much we were selling this for, she would hit me because everyone knows she beats me at home.
Yes, she does.
I have to say, one of the things people don't know is that when Billy, Barry, and I were in junior high school, we all drew very well. And I drew well, but I atrophied and stopped and went into writing and filmmaking, and these two gentlemen carried the ball. And I'm so grateful because it's an embarrassment of riches. Barry's cover, which we'll get to everything as we go through.
Yeah.
Barry's cover, Barry's sample pages, the stuff we're working on and moving forward on. Obviously, if anyone's seen the first book, they know what I'm talking about. And then the cover I just got from Billy, the sketch a couple of days ago, and Wes Hartman did some coloring. The version you're going to see is just about there. I know Billy wants to do a few more tweaks on it, but we're happy to put it up and show you as we scroll through this.
And they'll get the idea. And remember that Barry, so Old Bean, you're not aware of this. Steve was a fantastic artist.
I am aware
Well,
of
Steve
that.
and Barry were amazing.
Including sequential art.
Yeah, Steve, you were far better than me. My
Well,
God,
that's very kind to hear.
you were amazing. And I remember though, and obviously you followed your path perfectly. But I'd love for you to start drawing again.
Well, it's interesting when you have, as anybody who's done what I've done, when you stop and then suddenly years later, I was doing a stage play and there were like 13 cast members and I wanted to give everybody a parting gift and I didn't have the money to buy something significant for 13 people plus the crew, which is a big crew. I said, I know, I'll do a cast caricature. And up until first year of NYU, I was really good at caricatures. And then I still got immersed in the film because I was doing it all through high school and junior high. I really felt like this was I'm a lefty. I really felt like this was my hand as I tried to draw. And I had to teach myself to do it again. I had to exercise that muscle. And I finally did do a pretty decent one, but by the skin of my teeth, I did it. But
and it's so funny because Barry, I don't know how much when we all went to school, how often you two saw each other. I would see you jogging past my house, Barry. But Steve and I, we were mere blocks away from one another at school. You were downtown, I was midtown, and we saw each other once in 4 years. On a train going home for like Easter or something on a Saturday, or coming back. And it's so funny because we're always going to bars and things like that. We never. We're like two ships passing in the night.
I know. Now, if we're going to go through the campaign, do we mute our microphones and let you play the video? Will you pop the video larger? What are you going to do, Nile?
Yeah, I'm going to play we'll start off. We'll play the campaign video for everyone, and I'll make.
All right, very good. So we should mute.
No, you should be fine.
No,
Okay.
All right.
Hi, my name is Stephen Peros, and I am the writer-creator of the Stoker and Wells series. I'd like to welcome you to the campaign for the second book in our saga, Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. This book imagines a 20-something screw-up named H.G. Wells meeting a grumpy 40-something theater manager named Bram Stoker, and the two men going on a shared adventure that winds up leading to the creative inspiration for both writers' first great work, Dracula and the Time Machine. That first book that introduced the characters wound up getting tremendous reviews from the media, which you can read more about below. So much so that we wound up getting on the radar of an amazing company named Amasia Entertainment, where we've been developing it as a TV series. And they know a thing or two about movies and comics because they were founded by the former president of Marvel Studios. But now with the writer's strike going on, we're all film and TV writers. That's allowed Barry and I to amp up our development of the follow-up book Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. Please take a look below at the wonderful 3 preview pages drawn by Barry Orkin, colored by the amazing team at the Studio House, and impeccably lettered by Mindy Lopkin. We also have a variant cover by Billy Tucci that's full color as you look below. One of the things that Billy has done is he has offered, just like he did when we did our first book, he has offered to let us have as a backer reward his original pencil sketch, one of a kind, signed by Billy and shipped to you. That was so popular in our first campaign, it sold on the first day. So if it's of interest to you, I encourage you to take a look and snatch it up. Billy did the variant cover for our previous book, Order of the Golden Dawn, based on a developmental drawing, an unused developmental drawing of our heroine, Nina, who is an Eloy from the Time Machine. He did this gorgeous cover, limited edition. I went into the vault. I took the only remaining 5 copies out to use for this campaign. So if you're interested in it, please take a look. It's at the pledge, one of the pledge levels below. We have a lot of other things as well, really cool stuff down there besides the book. We have Barry's amazing 5 bookmarks, set of 5 bookmarks that you can get as an add-on. We have this great 2-sided 11-ounce hot mug that Barry designed. You want to have your hot cocoa in that this winter. I'm also selling my dog, so you'll see her down there on the what? No, we said okay, fine. No dog. Hey, no dog. There will be no dog. Okay, well, thank you for stopping by and taking a look at our book and the pledge levels. On behalf of the team, we hope that you will give us a shot and order a copy of Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. And on behalf of me, my apologies for being willing to sell my dog.
Sell the dog.
Excellent. Sell the
Sell the dog.
So in this story, how you pitch it, you call it, a frumpy theater manager and a out on his what is he? He's an immature. What? How did you describe H.G. Wells?
I said now you just scroll up. I'll tell you what. Now you threw all these words out at me. I don't know what I called him. Scroll. No. Scroll down. I'm sorry. Scroll down. It's a story by
This is an observation.
Screw up, a 20-something screw up named H.G. Wells.
Screw up.
Who winds up meeting a grumpy 40-something theater manager named Bram Stoker, and how the two men in the first book go on a shared horror sci-fi adventure through time that winds up leading to the creative inspiration for both writers' first great work, Dracula and the Time Machine. Well, now the book picks up, this second book picks up where the first book left off. We have a nice 3-page recap for those who haven't read the first book, although we do give you an opportunity to get the first book in this campaign. And now the issue is, what have they brought back? And that's where we take off from there. We are in Victorian England. The detritus of what they have brought back with them is now creating chaos, havoc with both of their lives. They also brought a Morlock back with them.
Oh,
from the time from 5894. We have, we also play around with the idea that, all these movies, they have, Dracula's ashes, and Dracula's ashes gets revived, resurrected. And I just started thinking, those ashes they sweep up stuff, it's not particularly pure, is it? So you resurrect this pile of ashes, but what else is in there, and what other chaos can be caused? And here's an image. I don't know if you're able to zoom in on this, if you have that ability, but here is, something just happened there. But here, in these 3 sample pages, you'll not only meet our Dracula surrogate, but you might be looking at his doppelganger from being revived. And again, because if Dracula, and this is a time travel conundrum that a lot of us who enjoy these kinds of stories deal with, if someone if someone is sent back to a time where they in fact existed, can two beings occupy the same space, one the older and one the younger? And my answer is, of course, yes.
Of course they can. Now, Barry, very interesting. You have Morlocks in this, as you had, in Order of the Golden Dawn. What did you base your? I like that. What did you base your design on? Your character descriptions. How did you come about creating the characters? Because did you look at the films for inspiration?
No, I just I had seen an interpretation of the Morlocks that were a little more ape-like, but I kind of thought that something people like apes, Planet of the Apes, or something like that, and I thought that would be fun. It would lend more into an action type of thing. So that's as I just did some concept sketches and I showed Steve. He really liked it, and it's fun to draw characters like that. So I went with it.
Yeah, we started everything since the idea is that this adventure is what the two men based their two books on. The baseline that I started every conversation with Barry was literally copying and pasting descriptions of Count Dracula, Morlocks, Eloy, the Time Machine. And then Barry and I would discuss from there, and Barry would riff, and he would take a design in a certain direction. But that was always where we began. We began with the literary sources. So if you know the books, there's another level of enjoyment. But neither Order of the Golden Dawn nor this second one require you to have read Dracula or the Time Machine.
But Dracula is pretty close to the book.
Absolutely,
definitely closer than the movie.
Yeah, so how is Dracula? And we have a surprise guest in the green room who will be popping in momentarily. But real quick, for those for the uninitiative, if you will, describe Barry your Dracula, Steve's, the original Count Dracula, Stoker's Dracula, his appearance as opposed to how we've seen Dracula portrayed in film.
Well, scroll down and let the picture talk, and then Barry can talk while it's on the screen.
All right.
Barry, to stop there.
Yep.
On the left is what is our Dracula.
I mean, he's a little uglier. He's not necessarily charming. He's a little more like a hawk. He's a little more fierce. He's definitely intimidating and scary, whereas Hollywood kind of, and
he's
Hollywood
no Frank Langella, circa
Right.
1979.
No.
Right. He's what we think of Dracula from Hollywood is a little more charming. Not that he's not frightening, but charm is more what you think of. And of course, the hair is much different, and the collar going up. There's none of the collar. We're used to seeing that collar.
Yeah, the cape. So much. It's interesting. Part of why we launched today is I was asked to do tomorrow night, Friday night, for anybody who's in the Los Angeles area, in Los Feliz, a great historic organization called the Philosophic Research Society. I'm doing a night reimagining Dracula. I'll talk for 20 minutes, a half hour about how Dracula has evolved. Things like Dracula being disintegrating with the rays of the sun, sleeping in a coffin, all that, having a lost love, all that comes from cinema. None of that is in the book. And so I'm going to be doing this talk. We're going to be showing a Toho, a Japanese Dracula movie, and I'll be doing a signing of the first book. So we thought, well, why don't we launch the book a day before? And then I can also mention that at this event can also be part of our launch weekend for Stoker Worlds. But yeah, I mean, what you saw, Dracula's skin is white. His ears are pointed. His Barry got it all down in his drawings from the start. He really. I had quite a few choices of style variations on the description that Barry did, and that's the one that we settled on.
Well, speaking of vampires in Hollywood, and I am proud to announce one of the original Lost Boys have joined us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Mark Haynes. Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Look who it is, Mark. Mark,
muted,
look
Mark.
who it is. I'm
You're
drinking
muted.
I'm drinking your booze. Thank you.
You're muted. Mark, you're muted.
There he
There
is.
you go.
There you
Hello,
go.
my
There you go.
friend. Salute.
Welcome.
Little post-workout shake here. So
There you go, buddy. Good to see you. So, Mark hurried in here. Hey, Soloff.
hey, Mike Soloff. He gets a bell. That's
After learning that you are drinking all his booze. But thank you, Mark, for joining us. Of course, Mark Haynes, an amazing comic creator himself. J.C. Vaughn, one of your partners, an amazing writer himself, producer. I mean, gee whiz, how big is your resume, my friend?
Joe, mine? Well, it's all due to Jeff, really.
Ooh.
I mean,
well, there you go.
And honestly, if I wasn't wearing the hat, we're starting to evolve into the same person.
Yeah,
I really
there's a likeness there.
You know,
Jeff would
it's
have
worse. It's worse on a Zoom because we have no height difference here.
Yeah, well, Jeff would have his Pirates hat on.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
All right, so Steve, speaking about the films, and that's all we all know about. You know, that the vast majority of us know everything about Dracula, vampires from cinema. Same thing with me. When everything I know about ants, I learned from the 1954 film Them. And did you know that they found ants floating in the stratosphere in 1954 or 57 when that film came out? I didn't know that we were up in the stratosphere by then, but apparently that's what the scientists told us.
Well, I want to talk. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Dracula and history and where this comes from. Because for me, you know, the scariest thing, and a lot of who I'm looking up here on the screen are writers. They know what I'm talking about. You know, one of the scariest things is the white page, the blank page, and what the heck am I going to put on this page? And if you have a toolbox and ingredients of things you can go to, well, now I can do something with it. You know, there was some story about Leonard Bernstein, was it Bernstein? I always forget. Being told, we want to give you a commission, and you can have unlimited freedom. You'll have take as much time as you want. It could be any topic you want, as many instruments as you want. And he said, "You think that's freedom? You've just completely shackled me. Tell me I have 2 months. It has to be on the War of 1812, and I have 35 musicians. That's freedom. Now I can do something." So the same thing here. When I started doing research on Bram Stoker and H.G. Wells, found out who these two men were at this time. These two different generations, a 20-something and a 40-something. Someone who was living life a little bit more by the seat of his pants. They both had strange, odd, near-death experiences as children and went in different paths. Clearly you haven't read my first book, Billy. Thank you for that.
I read it 3 years ago. I'm a fan.
So
why would I have you on?
But it really was fascinating who these two guys were.
Level, okay.
How different they were. One might generalize and say the conservative and the liberal, but it's a little more complicated than that. And how these two men came into being the men they were meant to be through the course of this story. You know, part of the goal of these books is not only to have a fun time in sort of revisionist history and fiction, but also to make people, you know, readers young and old, look at writers as heroes, as heroic, which is, you know, which I think they are every time they sit down and try to take the longest journey from here through their fingertips and create something. But, you know, if I could show them, as Barry shows them so well, slugging it out with Morlocks and trying to outrun vampires, and saving the lives of the innocent, of the persecuted Eloy, well, then, you know, I think we're also doing a job there. But now this book brings them to the present, brings them to their lives. And that's also something that has fascinating things that, based on my research, you know, Stoker did not have a great marriage. He had a really problematic, complex marriage to Florence Balcom, and she is depicted in this book. And how can we fold her in? He had a teenage son at the time, but he was also a workaholic, working day and night, running the Lyceum Theater. You know, one of the things people don't realize is that Stoker and Wells, Bram Stoker did not achieve the kind of J.K. Rowling overnight success. He remained a theater manager for years after the publication of Dracula. Wow. Even though it got published in other languages. The sensation that is Dracula is born of the cinema. It was a popular book. It was still in print after he died. But it wasn't until Broadway, they did it on Broadway with, well, first they did it in the London Theater in the mid-20s. That was so successful, came to Broadway in the late 20s. They got this Hungarian actor named Bela Lugosi to play Dracula. And then Hollywood bought it in 1929 or 30. And the sensation that was that movie from Universal Pictures is why Dracula endured. It's also why we think vampires sleep in coffins, because that is not in the book. But or wear capes. That's certainly not in the book either. So it's just been a fascinating journey, taking the research and saying, how can I create a fun, entertaining work of graphic novel fiction? And I think the fans and the critics have said really wonderful things about what we did with the first book, and I'm really excited about what we're doing here with the second book.
Awesome. And speaking of hero and excitement, I'd like to introduce our next guest.
What?
Oh, we have all-star guests.
An embarrassment of riches here.
No, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Alex Simon. Hello, sir.
Alex Simon, a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. A fine screenwriter. He's the only one among us who's worked with Roger Corman. He's a former editor of Venice magazine, where he was in charge. He ran this film department. He interviewed everybody. When I say everybody, throw a name out, he interviewed them, and beautifully. A lot of his interviews can be found online at what's it called, the
HollywoodInterview.com.
The HollywoodInterview.com. And an articulate, intelligent man, especially because he smokes cigars.
Yes. Well, Alex, welcome to Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci. Me and Nile Scala are hanging out every Thursday night, sometimes Wednesday nights, depending on schedules. But so glad to have you
here, you boneheads.
Yeah, I just figure we bring some. So we bring in the ringers here. So for Barry and for Steve, a question about you is that, again, you just went through this whole portrayal of Dracula. He doesn't sleep in coffins. I believe there were boxes or crates
of earth. They were boxes, and there's a little bit of crossover in certainly the first. F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu, 1922, celebrated its 100th anniversary last year, is the first. It's not the first. Apparently, there was a loose Hungarian, a lost film that I'll be talking about tomorrow night at that lecture. But the first one that we know of was Nosferatu by the great German expressionist director F.W. Murnau, who did a adaptation kind of without informing the Stoker estate. And Mrs. Stoker sued and won, and apparently the film was supposed to be pulled from distribution, prints destroyed. Most prints were not destroyed, and thank God the film lives now. But in the book, for example, it just says that Dracula kind of doesn't like light, kind of keeps away from the light. Yeah, he kind of operates at night. Doesn't say that the first ray of sunlight will disintegrate him, but Murnau is the first one who did that. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Nosferatu, that is how he perishes.
And if I could chime in, that was my first vampire movie. I saw that before I saw the Todd Browning version with Bela Lugosi.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah. My parents took me to this place called the Classical Film Society in Phoenix that showed silent movies on Super 8 and 16 with soundtracks. And the first one they took me to, because they knew that I was obsessed with silent movies when I was 8 years old, was a screening of Nosferatu. Wow. And it fucking scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, I was 8 years old, and I mean, I didn't sleep for weeks after that. And my parents realized, they thought that since it was so old, it would be, fine and, innocent. And it was not innocent, man. That's still a disturbing fucking movie.
Yeah.
My first introduction to Nosferatu was just a clip shown on In Search Of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy in the 1970s.
Yeah, of course.
And there, was an episode about vampires and all of that kind of stuff. And, as a kid, that's like, it's Mr. Spock delivering the news. So you're like, this is not conjecture. This is effing fact. So, and of course, we had just moved into a 100-year-old house, family of 4, in a house with 13 rooms. So that explains a lot about me.
And Murnau shot it like a documentary. I think it was the first film to shoot on location, because he went from Germany to Romania and actually shot in some of the ruins of Vlad the Impaler's castle. I mean, the whole thing looks like it was just grabbed, you know. To this day, I actually just downloaded the 2K restoration on iTunes a few days ago because it was on sale for $7. So I watched it immediately, and it just, you know, it was one of those things, like it was 11:30 at night. I'll watch the first 10 minutes.
Right.
The fact that it's so old makes it the fact that it's so old, the 1920s technology, it just makes it seem that much more real in a way. It looks like you're looking at a highlight that someone.
Yeah. And Alex, so I guess you could say it. Well, judging of my love of the film, it had to be all downhill from there, right?
Yeah, because when I saw the Lugosi version, I thought this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Really. You know, I think the next Dracula adaptation I saw that really blew my hair back was the first Christopher Lee Dracula, and I always get the title. Was it Taste the Blood of Dracula?
Horror of Dracula is the
Horror
first.
of Dracula. Thank you. I saw there was a in Phoenix, they had this thing called The World Beyond that aired Saturday mornings. They showed classic sci-fi and horror films. So that's where I saw all the Hammer films, all the Universal films for the first time, all the Godzilla movies, you know, from Toei. No, the Hammer films kind of blew my hair back. Those also, when I think of the stuff they were showing to little kids, but it was the 70s, so you know, it's like they didn't give a shit. All those Christopher Lee movies were uncut. They showed those Saturday mornings, so that was pretty great. And then when I saw the John Badham version of Dracula, which I revisited a few years ago, that's actually a hell of a good movie.
Yes, it's got a tacky ending, but it's a really good movie. Yeah.
When you did the Stoker and Wells event at the Egyptian Theater here in Los Angeles, what were the movies that we were screening?
It was horror. It was Hammer's Horror of Dracula,
right,
and George Powell's Time Machine. Mark's referencing when we launched the first book. We had our first signing. The kind folks at the American Cinematheque, at that time run by Dennis Bartok, who in fact runs the Philosophic Research Society, where I'm going to be doing the presentation tomorrow.
Philosophical
Research Society. Thank you kindly. We decided to put an event together. He said, "What films do you want to show?" And since this is sort of its color palette, it's sort of inspired, whether the colorists know it or not, by the kind of garish colors from Hammer Film, and I thought that would be a good one to show rather than the Lugosi black and white. And so they got a great print of Horror of Dracula, and then there's really only one respectable version of the Time Machine, and that is George Powell's The Time Machine. And it was a great double feature. They're both on film, and we had a great crowd. It was a delightful. Then we did a nice Barry flew in across the country for the interview.
Well, guys, I know everyone out there in the audience, I know that this is a riveting conversation. We have a ton of people on Facebook and on YouTube watching us. If you guys can go to the campaign, the description, the link is in the description. Please pledge to these two wonderful creators who are putting together an astonishing. I've gotten an insight of what the story is all about, and it's something that you guys will not be disappointed in.
Why don't we scroll through one by one the reward levels so that I can talk to people about that?
Absolutely.
Everyone loves to hear me talk.
Why we're all here.
So obviously the first thing we're featuring is the high quality, thanks to J.C. Vaughn's tutelage and oversight. We have a really beautiful, great printer, and this is a soft cover, 60-page Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. All of them will be signed by, at the very least, the writer-creator. If Barry were to be out here, it'd be also signed by Barry, but we certainly can ship 1,000 books to two different coasts. But they will at least all be signed by me, so that's one of the reward levels. And then we have a PDF for $10 of book 2. We have underneath that our delightful mug that you can have by the fire. Little, you can even put Lipton's cup of soup, as I know Billy is always excited to imbibe.
You're really hoping to attract some upscale people here, aren't you, Steve?
And by the way, notice it's $12. You go to any place that has a mug with such a beautiful logo as we have, and here it is. I mean, look how gorgeous this mug is. This is beautiful mug too. And Barry's logo, awesome logo. Those things never sell for $12. We're selling them for 12. If you want the 2 PDFs, in case you didn't read the first one, and you want to kind of read the saga, we have both PDFs together, $20. Going to show up right in your inbox for download. A link so that you can download it. We have 5 bookmarks. Amazing how I do that. You see how I can carefully hold these out extended? It's because there's tape on the back. That's what we have, which is a nice little package. Now there's also add-ons. So the 5 bookmarks, if you buy something else, you'll see add-ons later. But that one that you just saw you get the book, the bookmarks, and I think a PDF. You could buy both books together, both graphic novels, the hard copies of each graphic novel together. Of course, that's actually Billy's variant cover. Books 1 and 2. We can go scroll down from there. You could get Barry's limited edition Nina print. You can feature me here for a moment, Nile. Barry's limited edition Nina print, it's numbered and signed by Barry.
Gorgeous.
This is an absolutely beautiful print, 11 by 17. We ship it impeccably to your door.
Out a whole new door.
As we scroll down there, and that's a limited edition that we have, Barry's. That they're numbered. I think there's, what is it, Barry? 100? I forget what we have total.
50, I think.
50, yes. And then now we have Billy's variant cover, which did we really feature that when we scrolled through on the content there? Let's go to that. Thank you.
There we go.
I mean, this is Billy's variant cover. A very big departure from what Barry did. This is Eloy Nina from 5894. How she gets to London of 1894, well, you'll have to read the book and find out. And that is a woman of Victorian England. I might suggest possibly it could be Mrs. Stoker, who is...
Well, if that is Mrs. Stoker, now we know why she was still alive in 1922.
There you go, Pally. Pitting our 2 female leads against each other. Now we're only doing 150 of those. 150 of those. And I have to tell you, they sold very quickly. They sell whenever I go to conventions, so much so that, as you see below, we have only 5 copies left of Billy's variant cover. 5 of Billy's variant cover, signed by Billy, which they weren't offered signed the first time around. But these are signed. There's a Billy Tucci signature. Billy's glorious Mucha-inspired design. This is an early, by the way, unused character design for our heroine Nina. We actually, as you can tell by this book, we changed her wardrobe design. So this is a rare book on many levels. Just 5 copies left. After that, there are none. So, and they're not getting reprinted. We also have Barry's original sketch for his cover. Just as Billy showed you his sketch, Barry's kind enough to offer his sketch as one of the reward levels.
Oh, beautiful! Really?
Now you also get a lot of other
art.
things. Yeah, if you get that, if you can click on that.
Stephen,
Sorry.
You've been away from the art world for a long time.
I know. Click on that for a moment.
Path, and then you decide you got scholarships, I guess, and all to go to NYU, and you left it.
I know. So you also get with that, you're also going to get the digital download, also Stoker and Wells book 2, and also a set of 5 bookmarks as well. So you get a lot of good. You don't just get the art. And the same thing with Billy's. You'll be getting not just Billy's extraordinary art, but a digital download, a physical copy of the book signed, and the set of 5 bookmarks. There are also add-ons when you when you cash out, as it were. I do want to say something. As you guys know, in the world of Indiegogo now tacks on an optional tip.
Sneaky.
Yeah,
Sneaky,
and I want everyone to know it's optional. You can zero that out because they already make 5%. I think they kind of are doing okay. They don't need the tip. You can't. We the creators, do not have any control over that.
And neither do we receive it.
Yeah. Yes. So you can feel free to just put a zero there instead of whatever $2, $5, $10 that they put in there. And finally, we did this. We had 3 You Appear in Stoker and Wells available last time. All 3 sold. And if you click on that, you'll see you get everything for doing that. If we do that, you get digital download of both books, copy of Stoker and Wells. You get the mug. You get Barry's print. You get the 5 bookmarks. And this genius is going to get photo reference of you and draw you into the book as either a member of the Royal Order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a mysterious organization in Victorian England, or a
and now in West Hollywood too.
There you go. Wait a second.
Excellent.
Hey.
Now, is that historically accurate club? Was there?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Well,
Crowley, baby.
Aleister Crowley had joined it in the early 1900s. He would have been. People have always asked me, why isn't Aleister Crowley in your book? I was like, because he's 12 at the time and doesn't quite have a place yet at the table. But it was a mysterious organization, very secretive, dealt in ceremonies and astral travel, in studying not necessarily black arts, although that was part of it. Anything supernatural, paranormal, very literate. Whether Stoker was or wasn't a member is unclear because it's unclear about exactly who were members of the Golden Dawn. So we were allowed to have a lot of creative license there. But the first book picks up and starts at the Golden Dawn, and then we take our story from there. But they are where Stoker takes Wells in book 1. Because Wells has been hired by Stoker's boss, Henry Irving, a real man who really, an actor who was later knighted, Sir Henry Irving, and ran the Lyceum Theater. He wanted Wells to do a time travel play, so they didn't have to keep doing Shakespeare and more Shakespeare. He wanted to do something that recalled the era of what they called machine plays, which were big spectacles back then. That had kind of gone out of vogue. He wanted to do one, and he thought, why not do something with a time machine? And Wells, true story, had written this tiny, obscure thing called the Chronic Argonauts, a little time travel story where he didn't really describe the machine at all. But they thought, can you turn this into a stage play for me to star as the time traveler? And that's where our story takes off. And Stoker takes him to the Golden Dawn. Maybe they'll get inspiration there, and so forth. And that's where we get into a story of a real time machine. But I encourage you, if I don't want to do any spoilers for anyone who hasn't read Order of the Golden Dawn, but it's a spectacular book. And I'm not saying that because I wrote it, but because Barry's art is truly spectacular.
And it's but there's a lot of fun. You have a lot of humor aspects thrown into it, like the fire department chasing and wanting to kill Wells because he's sleeping with the chief's daughter or whatever. I mean, wife or whatever, not the chief's daughter.
To start fun, but also historically accurate. And so, Wells was, he had just gotten divorced. He was married to his cousin or second cousin. Back then it was okay. And so he wasn't any longer. But he ultimately was a proponent of free love, which now I guess we call what, Alex? That's now just where you can just love anybody. What's the term of art?
Pansexual.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess pansexual is what they call it today. Yes.
Why would you ask me this question?
Because you read because you read more than everybody here, and you're always on Facebook criticizing all this stuff. So I figured you must know it off the top of your head.
I would never criticize people for having a lot of sex.
All I will say with that.
I have a question for with you, Alex and Mark and Stephen.
I like Eric's comment.
The panel here, Barry as well. We're talking vampires because Dracula obviously is a major aspect of this book. Hey, Eric, what's up, brother? A question though: who is your or what would be your favorite portrayal of Dracula, or most accurate portrayal of Dracula, of Stoker's Dracula in cinema? That we all, let's be honest, that's how we know Dracula. None of us here have ever seen the Broadway 1920s play, Broadway.
That was Bela Lugosi.
Play, whatever they called it, whatever they call it, or even Frank Langella on that Broadway play.
Well, I saw that version of PBS. They did a shot on video version of the Langella stage version on PBS in the late 70s, I think, before Badham's film came out, and that was very good. But my favorite, it would be a tie between the original and remake of Nosferatu. So Murnau's Nosferatu, and then Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, starring Klaus Kinski. Kinski portrayed him as a tragic figure, which I thought was a brilliant stroke on the part of Werner Herzog, as sort of the ultimate social outlier who it's not his fault who he is. It's like the old tale of the frog and the scorpion. He can't help his nature, and the modern world just wasn't prepared for him, and he pays the price in the end.
Right, and now Kinski, I don't know if he's a big man, but he wasn't like, you look at Max Schreck, who's obviously very tall, right? I mean, very tall, very gangly, very terrifying. Kinski was also terrifying, but remember, if you look at the actor, and forgive me, who portrayed Harker with him, he wasn't big. He was so feral though, and just like primal in a way that that's what made him terrifying. But he wasn't this big imposing Christopher Lee type. How tall was Christopher Lee? Was he 6'4"?
Oh, he was over 6'5".
6'5". He was 6'5".
I mean, he was I mean, that's a terrifying creature right there. I apologize. So
Harker was played by the great actor Bruno Ganz.
Yeah.
In the Kinski version.
And then later he played Hitler in that amazing German film.
Bunker, right?
No. The German title was, what was it called in English?
I forget. It was one word.
The German title is
Downfall?
Yes,
Downfall. Thank you. The German title was Der Untergang. And I interviewed Bruno Ganz for that film. And I always think of it as Der Untergang because he kept referring to it as that during our interview. So it kind of got tattooed on my brain. But and his portrayal of Harker in Herzog's remake obviously was much more complex than the German actor who played it in the 1922 version, who was just kind of a fop.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think one of the best adaptations of the book, and also portrayals, is the BBC Louis Jourdan 2-part.
That was great.
Ooh, yeah.
That's readily available online and on DVD.
And it was really bloody, if I remember right.
Yeah, and they really got the essence of the character. Another great portrayal, I think, is Jack Palance's, which was Dan Curtis directed. And I'll tell you, for all of you who ever saw Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, it is nothing like Bram Stoker's Dracula because there is no lost love. If you want to go back to where the first Dracula movie was that talked about him believing that he has found his reincarnated lost love, it's Richard Matheson, the great Richard Matheson's screenplay, teleplay, I guess you would call it, for Dan Curtis's Dracula starring Jack Palance that was made in 73, 74. I'm not sure exactly. But he was the first one. And now, Richard Matheson, the great sci-fi horror writer, he wrote The Shrinking Man. He wrote I Am Legend, which became The Omega Man. He wrote Somewhere in Time, the screenplay and the book called Bid Time Return. And so he invented, basically anybody who ever did Dracula having a lost reincarnated love essentially owes that movie money. Because that's not from the book; they're stealing from a film adaptation, and it's a real interesting wonky path. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that one that I just missed? What was
go back, Marcus Guru. Thank you, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. Very much was the inspiration.
Who was in the Louis Jourdan version? Who was Van Helsing? Do you remember?
Who's that actor who was in Life Force. He also played kind of a Van Helsing there too.
Okay, Goldthwait.
There you go. That is very wrong.
So wrong.
Yep.
All right, so that's our favorites. Again, I'm with you. I also thought that what's his face from Platoon with
Willem Dafoe in Shadow of the
Shadow of the
Vampire.
Vampire. What a fun movie! I think I saw that at your house, Steve, because in one of your films was the actor who played Joe, I believe, or his name was Joe. In the Cat's Meow was
all that cast. Three people from that cast: Eddie Izzard, Carrie Elways, and Ronan Viebert were all leads. In fact, Eddie Izzard plays the fop, as you're saying, Alex, who played Harker. Those three actors literally packed up and left and from that movie, and then came and worked on my movie.
Really?
The Cat's Meow. Yeah, so they had lots of stories to tell. They all they all did very good Udo Kier impersonations.
Frank Finlay played Van Helsing. In the
Frank Finlay, that's it. Yeah.
All right, so now we're talking about our favorites. I got to tell you the 1979 Salem's Lot.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, Barry, Steve, we were all in school at the time. You know,
it's brilliant. It holds up beautifully.
Yeah,
Toby Hubert did an amazing job directing that. That's one of the scariest to this day work you'll ever see on free television. That it actually was on is pretty amazing.
But you remember that the reveal, because you had the kids at first. And then he had the glowing contacts. Remember that he was the first one introduced that I'm aware of, that I ever saw, was those contacts, those vampire eye contacts that were reflecting the light or whatever.
It very well may be one of the. I can't think of a ready reference before that. I mean, at times Christopher Lee wore bloodshot eye contacts. He wore a blood red one when he was awakened in Taste the Blood of Dracula, which is one of the Hammer films. But no, this idea of it being kind of a permanent fixture, that may very well be the first one, Billy. You may have hit on something, my friend. That's why you're the teen sensation and I'm not.
That's true. Well, but again, the reveal of what was his name? What's his name in? God, it's been so long. What was the character's name in Salem's Lot?
Oh, it's with a B. What's that character?
Baldock or something?
Hold on. I'll find it.
Look at Alex. But remember, that was James Mason's business partner, Mr. Baldock or whatever. But the reveal of seeing him for the first time, holy shit, guys! You remember that? Watching on a Saturday night.
The actor who played the vampire in that was a German actor named Reggie Nadler.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was truly terrifying. Now, you were looking for the name of the James Mason character?
No, of the character who played the vampire.
The actor who played the vampire.
No, the actual character.
The character he played.
I see. Hold on.
No, not Baldrich. It's close. Is that Baldrich in the novel? They changed it then in the book, in the movie.
Boy, they have him.
Yes, Al Capone is also a vampire. I love his vampire night.
Well, what about the wonderful Barry Atwater in Kolchak?
That's right. Kolchak,
Good call.
The original Night Stalker. No, there are the history of vampires and Dracula-inspired vampires. Obviously,
Kurt Barlow.
Mr. Barlow. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there definitely would be no Salem's Lot if it wasn't for Dracula. There would be no Night Stalker, the first movie and the great Kolchak saga, Karl Kolchak. And without Dracula, there'd be no Kolchak. Without Kolchak, there'd be no X-Files. We would be sitting here with nothing to watch at any time if it wasn't for Dracula.
There would probably be a Twilight.
All right, Barry, go ahead. Fine.
God, Barry, Twilight.
Yeah, you have to bring up Twilight.
If it wasn't for Dracula, there'd be a She TV series right now.
If Lauren Bacall were alive, she'd be happy with this.
All right, guys, so we're going over our favorites now. To our experts out here in the audience, has there ever been? Now, it seems that Barry and Steven, you guys are being true to Stoker's interpretation of Dracula, of Count Dracula. Has there ever been an honest and true portrayal of Dracula on film?
Like as written in the novel, you mean?
As written, as Stoker wrote it. That Mrs. Stoker went after you
Well, if you get into the pedantics of his exact physical description, sometimes you would see the right. There is actually Christopher Lee did a non-Hammer film called Count Dracula for the director Jess Franco, where Herbert Lom played Van Helsing, and his makeup was very inspired by the description in the book. He has the white mustache, very much like Barry drew, the white hair. Unfortunately, the film isn't very good. It could have been. They shot in real castles, but Jess Franco just really wasn't the man to bring it to the screen. His career is kind of funky. It's very watchable. That's probably one of the most faithful visual depictions. In terms of the spirit of Dracula, certainly, I think a number of them got it down. I think the tragic feeling you get, like you said, in Kinski's Nosferatu and in the silent Nosferatu, in Jack Palance's depiction. Gary Oldman is an entity unto itself, what he does in that film, and he's great. It's just, it's just a kind of a collage of everything you ever wanted to know about Dracula, but were afraid to ask, every possible incarnation of him. He did a really nice job, though, in that. But there's a reason why we know Lugosi and we know Christopher Lee. They all brought something to that character. There's a great enigma about the character of Count Dracula, the loneliness, the romance of loneliness, the tragedy of loneliness, that all these guys tapped into in one form or another. That's why no one has the same list of their 5 favorite Draculas, or they are the same 5, and no one can pick number 1. I think John Carradine in House of Dracula it's probably the first time Dracula looked like Dracula. He's got a mustache for the first time on film. He's got gray hair, and as anyone knows, John Carradine, tall and thin and sharp cut, very much like Barry's face. The face Barry has, sharp angles on his face. It's not a great. You know what, Citizen Rodin? Hail, hail, George Hamilton.
Love at first bite.
Love at first bite.
Yeah, have a drink with George Hamilton.
With the great Richard Benjamin.
Who was in it?
Who? Richard Benjamin. He's like the Van Helsing trying to kill him.
George Hamilton used to own the best cigar bar in LA in the 90s in Beverly Hills.
Shut up.
It was called Hamilton's. It was my clubhouse in the 90s. My buddies and I used to go there several times a week. We had a locker there in the walk-in humidor.
Wow.
Blackula, William Mark.
Wait a minute, Mark Haynes, you can't put something in. You're right here.
What? I can't.
You just got to talk.
No,
Vaughn told me how to do it.
Mark, that's a good point because Blackula was played by one of the best actors ever to play Dracula, William Marshall.
Yes,
who was a Shakespearean actor. He was one of the first black Shakespearean actors, and that guy had the most amazing pipes. He had a voice that was so sonorous. I mean, I don't think Blackula's a great movie, but I could listen to that guy talk all day.
I'll tell you what's interesting about Blackula and the sequel. You are doing it. Yes, we are. Thank you. I'm so glad you're glad. The great James Sanchez. You can't be. If you're in Albuquerque and you don't say hello to James Sanchez, you're a fool, I tell you. This is a great man, and a kind man and a generous man. And thank you for treating me so well when I
he's a great man.
Visited Albuquerque Comic-Con.
Well, guys, we have scores of people watching us right now. Please take a moment and go over and check out the campaign. We understand that everyone can back it, but when we have dozens and dozens of people watching us right now and watching these amazing creators and also these filmmakers and writers, artists, please give Stoker and Wells a look. Please, again, we're going to be here, so please, back away, step back, pledge. Again, this is something that I've been friends with Steve and Barry for a long time, but I am.
Look at that cover. Look how gorgeous this cover. Story. Barry, by the way, I want to say, Barry not only penciled this cover, Barry inked this cover, Barry colored this cover, Barry designed that logo. This is a beautiful, beautiful piece. And as a lot of people know, and I thank you for Billy for what you're saying, no one is required to pledge. I appreciate anybody who does.
Yes, they are.
But as we all know, but as we all know, in the world of crowdfunding, early play. If you're thinking about it, and you want to do it, don't put it off for later. Do it sooner. It helps us. The higher the number gets earlier, the better it is for our visibility to strangers on Indiegogo, for other people who want to pledge. So if you're thinking about it, I ask you to think about doing it even while you're watching the show now, because it's so much fun.
And along those lines, Steve, I wanted to say, Billy just touched on this just very briefly, but I wanted to echo it. Obviously people have a lot of different things going on in their lives, and sometimes it's not the time to do that. They can still really contribute by sharing it on their social media, emailing their friends about it, posting about it, hitting the like button, just all these things that you can do, forwarding it to people that might like it, particularly in the world of comics. If you're in any Facebook groups that are on any of these topics, and whether general science fiction or horror or something more specific, all of those things help.
Thank you, Jeff. You're absolutely right, and I appreciate that. No, for sure. We want to get it out there. This is, you've heard this spiel before on Billy's show, on other crowdfunding sites. Look at crowdfunding as pre-ordering. That's what you're doing. The fans are pre-ordering. We're cutting out the middleman. We're bringing the book directly to you. Barry and I don't have to answer to a slew of editors. We also aren't getting robbed blind, so that
you
other
don't
people
answer to your editor.
What's that? I try. I got to get you. Yes, but
neither do I.
But yeah, I mean, this is just. I just look at these images. Barry just did such a tremendous work, and our coloring team. And they are a team, a studio house. They just done a really lovely job. They colored the second half of our first book. And we brought them on to color this book as well, and they're just a great bunch. Barry loves them, and that's what's important to me, is to have a colorist who Barry really liked, because I want it to work with Barry's inks, and not for Barry to feel like it's kind of not delivering what he wants. He really liked these guys. They were available and they wanted to do it. They were excited to do it, and they jumped right on coloring our preview pages just in time for us to launch. So, and hats off to Wes Hartman for this glorious job he did literally in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Coloring Billy's cover. I mean, again,
how good the last book was in terms of the read and the visuals, just made me completely rethink my comic career. Like, should I even continue? I mean, it was like,
and Mark, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because your book, for Steve and Jeff, please chime in on this. This was Steven's and Barry, well, not Barry's, but Steve as the writer. This was his first foray into comics, into making a graphic novel.
Yeah, I definitely like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Coming in as the editor, and the original book, I think you were thinking like 48 pages, Steve? Is that right?
Well, I don't want you to pick up, Jeff. Just a little backstory. I wrote a screenplay, 115 pages. We reverse engine, and it did well for me. It got me another job, a paying job. It almost got bought, almost never, but it didn't. It was an expensive film. It didn't get bought. So I wanted to reverse engineer a screenplay into a graphic novel, which is very different from this new book, which is being written as a graphic novel. So Jeff had the unfortunate task of having to help me turn 115 pages into what we foolishly thought would be a 57-page graphic novel, wound up being 94 pages.
And that was, and the whole thing about that is that this is the point I wanted to get to. And I've said this on other shows, so it is, if it is blowing smoke, it's smoke you have smelled before. It is
multi-layered comment.
And absolutely. Steve's dialogue is among the hardest stuff to cut that I've ever experienced as an editor, because it's so tight and flows so naturally. Conversation in film and books and anything else like that is the illusion of natural dialogue. We're just zooming in on a particular scene. There's not the person's whole life and all that kind of stuff like that. But it was so natural and so flowing that it was brutal. But what I was so impressed with was, by the time we got to the second half of the book, you had this, you were spotting the major differences between comic book scripting and film scripting, and seeing where cuts could occur. At the same time, working very synergistically, Barry came, and I always remember that one page where he goes, "This needs to be a whole page,"
And he's right.
And it was a much more organic process than I expected going in. And the thing that was, to me, the really telling thing about this is if you step forward into She, Return of the Warrior, or any of the 3 books in this series, then you see that not only have you adapted to this new medium, you've become a master of it in what you're doing with your staging and
All
your
right.
timing.
All right. Slow it down. Just slow it down.
I do want.
Thank you. This guy, he got the page.
You've already got the job, Jeff.
He got the Speed Racer pose into She.
Yes,
do that.
yes.
I do want to say, Billy, Bill, since Mutual Admiration Society, I would like to say, JC, you taught me quite a lot along the way when we were doing that first book, and I remember giving you kudos quite a bit at that time. I learned tons from you, and then from there I went to write 3 books with Billy. With again, those are directly graphic novel scripts where we set out. We had a page count. We knew what we wanted. How do you break this down? It became very clear, and I really honed, thanks to that experience of doing Return of the Warrior, She Haikyo, and She Sakura. It allowed, I feel, much stronger coming in and writing a graphic novel from scratch. So that's why I stare at the 3 preview pages going, oh, look, it works. The images work, they tell the story, and it just it's fun. It teaches you economy. It teaches you economy. How do you get it across? How does each image, each panel move the story forward? Yet it's an interesting thing because on the one hand, as a writer, you want people to keep moving the story forward, but you also want them to pause and look at the art. So if you can find some balance where the story is moving for people, but they also are appreciating the art, that I think would be the goal. One of the exciting things about the first book was fans would tell me, and we'd read it in reviews, that wow, there's a lot of story here. That apparently some comic book fans and graphic novel fans, they found that there were books that they loved the art, but there was nothing really going on story-wise. It was just a series of set pieces, and then it was over. And they appreciated that this felt, a lot of times we get, this reads like a movie, this reads like a film, this reads like watching a TV show. So it was fun to get that kind of thing, because I don't know how else to write but to tell a story. And so it was fun to kind of bring my screenwriting experience into this realm and learn from it. But thank you, Jeff, for what you taught me when we did the first book. And Billy, everything I learned working with you on those 3 books, because they were a hoot. We had a great time working on those.
Well, and thank you for saying that. But I'm a fan. I'm a comics fan. I love comics. I love good comics. I love good stories. And just looking at the amount of reviews, you have one here right from the splintering.
Mm-hmm.
All of the amazing, astonishing reviews for the original Stoker and Wells Order of the Golden Dawn. Mm-hmm. It's almost like this is one of the greatest comic book that you've never read.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just review after review. And if I switch back, if
you go to hold on, Comic Speed is a great review. That's a wonderful review up there.
Like
Indie Comics, that was a great review. Comic Speed is the gold standard of. I mean, they are the guys, and they don't know me from Adam, and they wrote Indie Comics down below. They did a great review. I mean, we got a lot of, and then the LA Weekly, in covering our event for the American Cinematheque, wanted a copy of the book. And their article is still online. They had an article in the print edition, the online edition of the LA Weekly. They never review graphic novels, where they went off on this great praise for the graphic novel, which was just really tremendous. We wound up using their review quote as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's pretty fantastic. And like I said, again, not only are you guys our friends, I love you both like brothers. But this is guys out there. Again, we have a ton of people. I see our like I said, scores of people. We have our YouTube viewers, but there are a ton of Facebook viewers watching. I can see it on my page right now. And guys, go out there, please support this book. These are two creators that have so much invested into the story. And again, Steve has crafted a fantastic.
Oh, past Master.
Well, what can I
Dan.
say? I'm a fan. You know, if something
He's
sucks,
not
you guys
wrong.
know me. I'm not, you know. But again, you will not be disappointed in something like this. And you'll actually be. It's astonishing what you guys have done. It really is. And you guys should. You are two talents that are truly in need of greater recognition.
Well,
and
thank
deserve
you.
greater
I'll tell you a little bit more about what goes on in this book. You know, if the first book was about the inspiration for Dracula and the Time Machine, one of the interesting things about Stoker versus Wells in terms of their lives and their trajectories was once they started working on the books that they would be known for, Stoker took many years. He didn't publish Dracula until 1897. Our book takes place in 1893. But when Wells published The Time Machine and finally got out of his rut, he would go from job to job. He had gone to college to study science, and he wound up being just a jackass to all of his professors and didn't quite do great there. He was a draper's apprentice. He was a chemist's apprentice. We use all of that in the first book. But when he finally said, okay, I'm going to write this book, The Time Machine, and it hit big. Now, The Time Machine is this thin, Dracula is this thick. Then bam, 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 he was prolific. The whole time Stoker was carrying around scribbles and research and also trying to work at the Lyceum. Wells's first book was a smash hit, and then he moved on. So we actually have in this next book not only events that lead to the inspiration for Time Machine, clearly, but also the Invisible Man. So
What?
we see events in the second book
He looks like a skinny Kelsey Grammer.
that
He's far more handsome than Kelsey Grammer and a lot taller, let me tell you that.
who looks like a skinny Barry? Oh, for
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually not a bad
No, but I want to say that I'm the one who had the idea for Wells to be staring at Nina's ass as they're going through the tunnel. I keep getting comments. Steve, I don't know if you've gotten comments. I've gotten many comments about that.
Yes, I saw it in one of the a review or something where someone was saying, or like they use that frame, that picture, and says Wells knows where to look on this journey or something like that.
Yeah. People just commented, yeah, look at that, yeah.
Well, look, hey,
Smile on
come
his
on,
face.
they're crawling through a narrow tunnel,
What?
and one at a time. Hey, wait a second. But there's a lot of fun stuff that happens in that first book. A lot of, I mean, again, I also wanted to balance dialogue with set pieces and action sequences. So there's a really, very intentional balance within that book, and we're doing the same with this next one.
Is this true?
Yes, Nicole J. Absolutely. Conan Doyle was. I'm not sure at exactly what time, but yeah, he was. Oh,
Now,
that's a whole show you
what's
can do on the
Stoker-
Golden Dawn.
So Stoker, what year is the Golden Dawn for the Uninitiative?
The Golden Dawn started a good 5 years before the events of this book, and it lasted into the early 20th century. So yeah, they were. Again, without my research in front of me, they certainly lasted a good chunk of change, 20 years, maybe more. The mysterious how they were founded. In fact, we're getting deeper into it in the TV series because the first book takes place over, not much more time than a few days. So obviously, when you're trying to adapt that property to the demands of series television, serialized series television, yes, the Golden Dawn became a steakhouse chain. Oh, and that's JC, our brilliant. Yeah, that's him, folks. You have to kind of rethink things for the needs of television. So part of what we're doing is going deeply into the founding of the Golden Dawn and the membership there, and taking a little creative license, and so little is known for sure about it.
Hey, hang on a second, Eric Brose.
Eric
Throwing a lot of chats out here. Eric, I sent you the link. Get in here, buddy.
Bros, how old is that picture?
Oh, come on, he's a handsome man.
I didn't. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
I think in 1986. What do you got?
I think Eric and I are gonna play tag team because I'm gonna split because I have to get up extremely early in the morning.
What?
So we're gonna flip. Eric will come in and I'll.
And he'll get into the Ann B. Davis box.
Here, before you go, Barry, Zippy the Unicorn asks, so if I choose the be drawn into the book tier, how will you explain that a unicorn is a character?
Oh, I'll explain it, Zippy. Don't you worry about it. You want to challenge me? You're on. Now hit that button and be drawn into the book.
That's right.
All right, Barry. Great to see you, my friend. Enjoy your time off with the family. And we will talk soon, and we shall we'll see each other soon.
Okay.
Too long.
All right. Good seeing you, Barry.
Thank you, Barry.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your trip.
All right. So, Alex Simon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Again, a brilliant man. Brilliant. Loved your Flynn screenplay. My God, that.
Right. Well, you mean the one you started right after 3 years? Have you actually read it?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah,
you finally read it. Okay, I didn't know that.
I read it.
Alex,
you didn't read it.
Yes, I did. No, I read. Oh, absolutely, I read it. I loved it. I had it printed out. I went to Staples and made them print it out for me. Well, I paid them to print it out for me because I can't read shit on the computer. I don't Kindle. I don't know if you guys do. I don't do that. I don't like that. I like comics. I like a physical copy in my hand when I read something.
Mm-hmm.
Much to my wife's chagrin, because the American Legion is having listen to this, guys. The American Legion this Saturday is having a garage or a yard sale to raise money. And she goes, what about all these books you have? And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And did Billy, did she say it? Books. All these books you have.
You have disdain. Just like
you don't touch my DVDs or my books. Them's fighting words.
Yeah.
They're the only friends I have.
Alex, my friend, what do you have going on? What's going on with you, AS? I know we have the writer's strike right now that no one's happy about.
Well, here's how lucky I am. I got put on a list done by Movie Maker Magazine and the Austin Film Festival of 25 screenwriters to watch. I was hoping to get new representation. Then the fucking writer's strike happened. So
it was like a week or two before the strike.
Yeah, exactly. So the most recent thing I've done is I adapted a World War II spy thriller. I did the pilot for a miniseries. And it was the novel was written by a guy who was a close family friend and a very famous novelist when he was alive. His name was Elliston Trevor. He wrote The Flight of the Phoenix, which has been made twice into movies, and he also wrote the Quiller spy series under the nom de plume Adam Hall.
Oh, why did he write it under a nom de plume?
He had like 5 or 6 different nom de plumes. I'm not sure why. He might have told me back in the day, but anyway, he was my first writing mentor when I was growing up in Phoenix, and he gave me his blessing to adopt his novel, The Damocles Sword, the World War II spy thriller I mentioned, as my senior thesis project at USC Film School. I turned it into, it's a thick book, and I turned it into about 165-page screenplay. Unfortunately, in 1990, nobody was making World War II movies, so it did get me my first agent, but it didn't get made. But I thought it would be, in this day and age, a perfect miniseries for Amazon or Netflix or Hulu, one of those. And a couple of the gentlemen present here have read the pilot and liked it very much. And
it's an excellent pilot. You see, what you didn't understand, Alex, is you're one of the 25 screenwriters to watch on the picket line. That's where we watch you.
Well, I've been on the picket line several times.
Anybody seeing him would appreciate the cut of his jib. I will say that as he's
we have 3 WTA members here. And I got to tell you, so I'm looking at why they're striking and all, and I got to be honest with you. This whole the coming potential of AI and what they can do with character.
Oh, wait, by AI, can we like I said? What are we listening to?
No, please.
It's
the
emotional.
AI,
We're
it's
talking about
taking
AI. Yeah.
Let's call AI what it should be called. Not let the. I love that. I saw a meme and it's so accurate. It's not a meme. It was somebody wrote a decree, a treatise that said stop letting them call it AI and call it what it is, which is plagiarism software. Because that's what it is. It is plagiarism software, and it's never going to get beyond a certain point. I'm not saying technically, and everyone's sitting there who's into AI saying, "Oh, you're crazy, man. It's gonna go. It's the future." But the fact is, on a business and legal level, I don't see Sony, Universal, Fox, anybody touching that until they can account for the images that they are rating and prove that they are in the public domain. I mean, you already write in something that sounds like Hemingway. So that means you're going to raid Hemingway, something that sounds a little like a Tarantino script. So you're already in the programming admitting plagiarism, that the computer is going to go into copyrighted material that is protected and create something new. Now, if you tell me that you're going to create an actual library that can fit in this box of material that has been paid for or in the public domain, that is where your AI is going to raid, well, then I guess there's nothing legally you can do about that because that's actually rape. But that it's, this whole start, I remember 2-3 years ago, people were doing AI generated fantasy art, a lot of fantasy art, and people could recognize, that's a Hildebrand dragon. People could recognize the art that was being stolen. It's just, that's what it is. And we got to stop calling it AI because that sounds too nice.
Well, I asked one of the AI art generators to generate a piece of art in the style of Billy Tucci, and it did, but then it kicked me in the shins.
Thank you.
So that I was like, I'm just not interested.
Of course, and it wasn't the real Billy Tucci because the real one would have kicked you somewhere else.
Well, I didn't know if we have a family audience, so I wanted to keep it.
It was programmed by Bo Smith, so
I knew somebody would get it, Nile. Thank you.
Yes, I got it. Creator of Winona Earp.
Yep.
That was a huge series on Sci-Fi Network. But what I find was terrifying about this is that they're saying that the AI technology or the thievery is going to be available to the ordinary person who can then type into this program, Quentin Tarantino writes, John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe, gee whiz, on the beaches of Normandy. But they're not fighting Germans, they're fighting vampires. And this will generate a film of that. This is what could happen.
Yeah, but again, this is all about business. Is it cheaper? And does anyone want to see it? Because your audience is not going to make some big distinction. Oh, great, I'm seeing AI generated actors instead of actual actors. And today's audience is not, John Wayne is not going to put butts in the seats. So the fact of the matter is, unless, just like right now, we have the technology for flying cars. Anybody see a flying car out there? There's no flying cars because they are not economically feasible. They're too expensive, too complex to have.
I have to add here too, Steve. You and I live in the same neighborhood, and the people that we live around can't handle 2 dimensions. All right, like 3 dimensions is a serious problem.
Wait, I want to take a commercial detour and say that Billy and I want to very much get this at least over the $500 hump.
Oh, we're so close, guys.
We're at $405. A couple of you are out there looking at it. We got a great audience at YouTube and Facebook watching this. I got to keep my self-respect with Barry. I told Barry an hour out of his time is going to be well worth it. Right now, he's texting me. He's going, it's not worth it. Barry, I'll text him back. It is.
Oh, stop.
No, he didn't say that at all. I'm kidding.
A huge amount of backers. Guys, please look at the page. Please pledge for this. Again, this is an important book by wonderful creators. And I know, I get it, Thursday nights is a huge YouTube night. I know we have a lot of my friends are streaming live right now. They have
everybody is watching. Everyone is watching Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci. By the way, you are a better Jimmy Fallon than Jimmy Fallon in that opening. That's the one that really sells you in that graphic at the begining.
I'd just like to say that Billy's a better Jimmy Fallon than Jimmy Fallon every day.
I wouldn't disagree with that either.
Oh, now we're trashing Jimmy Fallon, the poor guy. He's probably watching.
Oh yeah, the poor guy. How about that?
Yeah.
The poor guy. Jeez.
He's got to be good for $50.
Yeah,
You know what?
doesn't
You
he
know
have
what?
50 bucks?
If
Doesn't he?
if he backs this campaign and puts us over $500, I'll apologize right now.
I will. I'll give him my dog. I mean, come on. She's so cute.
Again, now, Steven, now we're talking. Now we have a lot of people that watch the show. Again,
Yes.
Our shows grow because a lot of people watch it afterwards.
Mhm.
Because again, Thursday night is a huge night for streaming, especially in the comics industry. It's probably the biggest night, and I don't know why Nile insisted I do Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci.
Don't throw Nile under the bus.
He had to find out if it's going to work first.
Yeah. But there are things like, okay, so a lot of us in crowdfunding, we end up doing and I did it with the new She campaign. We do pre-launch pages, right? And you build an audience. We had, over 800 signups for our pre-launch page. Thank you all very much.
Well, you're Billy Tucci, of course. You've been doing this.
Right.
You know.
That means I've been around a long time. But you chose not to do a pre-launch page. And Steven, for those out there who want to do their own crowdfunding campaigns and all, why did you opt not to do a pre-launch page?
Because no one reminded me to do it.
No, you said it didn't. You said it didn't work last time for you, right?
I didn't really get. Yeah, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, and I speak for Alex and I speak for Mark, and I think I even speak for JC when I say this. You know, in comics, what's sexy to the audience is the artist, writer, or the artist. The writer, just like in Hollywood.
As a writer, I'll say it's the artist.
Yes, it's the artist, or if they're an artist/writer like Billy Tucci is, but
not anymore. Thanks to you and JC Vaughn. Thank you guys.
But you know, it's a lot harder for writers to build up that fan base, you know, and that cult around the art. And so, you know, it wasn't the first thing on my mind, because to me the work begins when you launch. I know everybody is excited when the day you launch, that number just goes crazy. And that would be great, but now the real work starts for me. I roll up my sleeves, and now the promotion, the one-on-one outreach, the outreach to groups with a live campaign, so that when I'm reaching to someone with a link, that link actually translates into a pledge versus getting on the mailing list for it. I mean, we have the people we're going to go to, and now we're going to start going to them.
But also, you also though too is. You know, I am primarily an Indiegogo guy. I love Indiegogo. We love our Kickstarter backers. But you guys are also now the Kickstarter will be launching.
Yeah, what we're doing is, so we know that we want to raise this number 21,500. That it takes into account the printing, all the materials, the team that it takes to create this, and so forth. All that it takes to do it. So my feeling is, since Kickstarter is an all or nothing, and it was not an easy number to get to, but we got to it the first time. I thought, and I didn't do an Indiegogo until much later. I did an Indiegogo store after the book was done, and we sold and made some good money there after the fact, with materials already generated. So I thought, well, the best way, why don't I do a month on Indiegogo, see where we get. With that, because that's off, as you know, has its own very specific audience sometimes who don't traffic in Kickstarter. And then at the end of that month, see how we've whittled down that number, or maybe we've exceeded it, 21.5, and then launch a Kickstarter for a smaller amount. So that's the plan, is that for the month of June, we will be on Indiegogo. For the month of July, we'll be on Kickstarter. Now, some people, again, this is psychology. Some people go, okay, I got 2 months. They do. That's fine. I'll get to the end, then you're going to hear from me when I have just a Kickstarter, and then you'll, so again, I know how this project, this is a 60-day two platform process for us, and we'll get to the finish line. I have no doubt we got to the finish line last time with a great book. You're in on the ground floor of a book with the first edition of a book that will be a TV series. and getting these copies from what is essentially the first edition. So I hope you will take the time, carefully read through what we have here, and give us a shot. I guarantee you, I don't know in what way I can make a guarantee. I'll give you your money back if you don't like the book. I swear. You could contact me, info@stephenperos.com, stokerandwells@gmail. You can reach out to me if you get that book and are disappointed. And no one has ever written me that they didn't like it. There's no bad review I have found. So
right. Marcus Gilladrew says, and because we do. Okay, so Indiegogo also has In Demand, but now you have Senor Sanchez here, my cabron, is that he's a Kickstarter guy. What I've learned is that you have, and we started a Kickstarter, but you have dedicated, devoted Kickstarter backers, people.
Okay, well that'll be a July campaign for them. Yeah,
right. But I love the idea that you are going Indiegogo first. Because you have your Kickstarter audience. But I love the idea of you giving the Indiegogo backers out there the first opportunity, and it's probably all it's all because of me, because I like my Indiegogo guys, getting our books. Hey,
good evening, John. Good evening. Because look, let's face it. Anybody who wants one of the rarities, the only 5 copies that exist of this, the art that there's only 1 copy of. To be in the book, there's only 3 opportunities. That could be gone by the time we get to Kickstarter. I can't replace those. So that is actually being offered exclusively first to Indiegogo fans to prove that Indiegogo is the power that they say it is. And let's see if those things, and if not, they'll be available for the Kickstarter people.
Yep, 100%. But I like the idea of braving new worlds, if you will.
Well, here's an article you can write, John.
Now, John Delarose is a fantastic creator in his own right, but he also has Bounding into Comics, Steve. So I'll make an introduction to you with John Delarose, because he's also a journalist. So he's not just a creator himself, and he's a hugely successful crowdfunder and comics creator in his own right. But I will definitely put you guys together too.
Thank you. We just got another pledge. We're inching closer to $500. So if anybody out there is thinking about it, we'd love to get off the air having hit that 500. If anybody is thinking about it, go for it, because I know Billy wants to see it happen. He and I, he knows his fans are there and that they want to support there because he loves this book. So
yeah, 100%. And it's something, like I said, you guys will love it. And again, Nile, can we show the video again?
Guys, I'm gonna cut out for the night. Steve,
yes, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on with this. Nile, Billy, and Alex. Great to see you, man. And Mark.
Thank you, JC. You are an invaluable part of this team. I couldn't do it without you. We got a great printer, a great eyes on the script, eyes on everything that we're doing. You just we could not do this book without you. So thank you.
Yeah,
I just want to add, I'm gonna I did it before the campaign started, but I'm gonna hit the Al Capone supporters again with this tomorrow.
Thank you, and that is such a fun series that you have, Al Capone Vampire. It's just an awesome book. Thank anybody who wants to. Yeah, I love the book 1, and I can't wait to get book 2.
All right, see you guys later.
Good night, Jeff.
All right, have a good one, Jeff.
So, Steve, I told today our pal and Alex, you would love Nick Catratis, one of our buddies. So I told Nick that you and I have been talking about bringing you in to New York in the fall, hopefully around New York Comic-Con time. And Nick's already wants to book some steakhouse on Long Island. If you guys have ever met Nick, Alex, you would love Nick Catratis, our buddy.
Nick is the definition of a great Greek.
Yeah, great Greek. He is one of the biggest art collectors, comic art collectors. He is the guy that when he goes to San Diego, he comes in with a portfolio and leaves empty with $70,000 in his pocket for the money he sells. So he's a big fan of Steve Peros, and he's all excited about you coming back to the East Coast, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
So, huzzah!
Want to play that video one more time here?
Yes, let's play the video.
Okay. Hi, my name is Stephen Peros, and I am the writer-creator of the Stoker and Wells series. I'd like to welcome you to the campaign for the second book in our saga, Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. This book imagines a 20-something screw-up named H.G. Wells meeting a grumpy 40-something theater manager named Bram Stoker, and the two men going on a shared adventure that winds up leading to the creative inspiration for both writers' first great work, Dracula and the Time Machine. That first book that introduced the characters wound up getting tremendous reviews from the media, which you can read more about below. So much so that we wound up getting on the radar of an amazing company named Amasia Entertainment, where we've been developing it as a TV series. And they know a thing or two about movies and comics because they were founded by the former president of Marvel Studios. But now with the writer's strike going on for all film and TV writers, that's allowed Barry and I to amp up our development of the follow-up book, Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. Please take a look below at the wonderful 3 preview pages drawn by Barry Orkin, colored by the amazing team at A Studio House, and impeccably lettered by Mindy Lopkin. We also have a variant cover by Billy Tucci that's full color as you look below. One of the things that Billy has done is he has offered, just like he did when we did our first book, he has offered to let us have as a backer reward his original pencil sketch, one of a kind, signed by Billy and shipped to you. That was so popular in our first campaign, it sold on the first day. So if it's of interest to you, I encourage you to take a look and snatch it up. Billy did the variant cover for our previous book, Order of the Golden Dawn, based on a developmental drawing, an unused developmental drawing of our heroine, Nina, who is an Eloy from the Time Machine. He did this gorgeous cover, limited edition. I went into the vault. I took the only remaining 5 copies out to use for this campaign. So if you're interested in it, please take a look. It's at the pledge, one of the pledge levels below. We have a lot of other things as well, really cool stuff down there besides the book. We have Barry's amazing 5 bookmarks, set of 5 bookmarks that you can get as an add-on. We have this great 2-sided 11-ounce hot mug that Barry designed. You want to have your hot cocoa in that this winter. I'm also selling my dog, you know, so you'll see her down there on the we said okay, fine. No dog. Okay, no dog. There will be no dog. Okay, well, thank you for stopping by and taking a look at our book and the pledge levels. On behalf of the team, we hope that you will give us a shot and order a copy of Stoker and Wells, The Ashes of Revenge. And on behalf of me, my apologies for being willing to sell my dog.
Dog is like, this isn't funny.
See, the funny thing is that your Steve's your
oh,
screenshot.
$3 away.
Oh, $3. For God's sakes, guys. Let's do this. Let's get past 500 for the first hour of Stoker and Wells.
$3. $3. You want me to give free? You're taking food from the mouths of my children.
See? Good Lord.
That's passion.
I decided to do a low rent video and to do the whole thing on a Zoom kind of, but you know, as anyone who's ever done something like that knows, you have to go through a lot of takes to get it right.
Right.
So this poor dog was sitting here in her little bed. As long as the bed's next to me, she'll hang out there. I can't tell you how many times she got picked up. And in fact, one of the takes was going so well, about 30 seconds before I knew I was going to pick her up, she decided to go for a walk. I was like, nice. You ruined my take.
Where are you going? you just can't get good help these days.
You can't get good poodles these days. Oh, but this is a good one. This is a good one. And there was no poodle was harmed in the making of that video.
Is that true, Mark Haynes?
It is true.
Is it
true? And while I was off stage, I backed the Indiegogo.
Oh, are you serious? Are you serious?
I did.
Oh,
even
my
though
God.
even though I will probably spend twice as much for drinks on you over the next, between the time that now and the book comes out, but it's good.
Well, all you guys out there are 52 plus viewers on Indiegogo. On YouTube. I know we have a strong Indiegogo audience. I know that Stoker and Wells is unfamiliar to you guys. Again, here's Steven and Barry are primarily Kickstarter guys, but they are with us. They are allies to us, to our cause for creative freedom.
Absolutely.
To be your true self and to express yourself and your creativity and put it out there. So please, guys, the Indiegogo guys, I again out there, I know again, Stephen, we have a lot of our viewers, and John Delarose will attest to that. They're primarily Indiegogo people. Because
I remember. Look, we were on when I launched the Indiegogo in demand. I was on Doug Tenople's show, and he's a great guy. He's a big Indiegogo guy, non-Kickstarter guy, and we got some fans from his fan base. So I love. It's interesting to hear the distinctions between the Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I love them both. But I am starting on Indiegogo, so that says something for you Indiegogo fans. I hope you guys will give it a shot. Consider it as the days go on. You'll be seeing more promotion about it coming up, and I know you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, please look at Stephen and Barry, these two new creators, for the most part, to the Indiegogo world. He is live now on Indiegogo. They are primarily and hugely successful on Kickstarter, but now they are reaching out to Indiegogo first. They want to give the Indiegogo backers, primarily because it's me, and here's my original art, because I feel that I am so appreciative of all you out there who have backed us on Indiegogo. We start our campaigns, the new Senriaco Omnibus Edition, we do exclusively through Indiegogo first. Because I love the platform. I think it's very easy to work with. I love the people. I think we're almost like a family. And please, guys, give Stephen and Barry and JC Vaughn, who also had to take off because they all get up super early in the morning. But please back this project. Pledge, share. If you cannot pledge, we all understand things are not great right now for some people, but then share it on your socials. Okay, guys, share this thing. Share about that people that are true talents, that love cinema, they love literature, they love comics, and remember Graham Nolan, Steve? It was
of course.
A couple of our A Century of Horror, which we have to bring back this fall for sure.
No question.
Yep. Absolutely.
Someone kindly threw $3 our way. That's so that we got.
Billy. Look at that. Okay, see ya.
Well, Billy, I have to ask you, for your fan base, when was the last time you drew a cover with a vampire on it?
I'd have to say for JC Vaughn,
that's right, of course.
Editor,
yes,
probably
that's right. You did.
Probably 6 years ago.
For Vampire PA.
Yeah.
And you did an awesome, ferocious. Can we throw that cover back on there before we say goodbye? Let's put that little cover of Bad Boy of Billy's up there on the screen.
Yeah, put that in. And here's the original art, guys. It's for the.
I mean, look at that gorgeous cover.
Yep.
You got that original art, Billy?
Yeah, the original art.
Hey, Billy, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I was away from the computer, but I did overhear part of the Kickstarter versus Indiegogo conversation, and I would like to suggest or request that one of your other shows that you guys do on crowdfunding and stuff gets into that, because I'm getting ready to start a project probably closer to the end of the month to put one up, and I'm obviously the big attraction to Indiegogo is that whatever you get.
Yes.
But what's that?
You can go in demand with Indiegogo. So once you make your goal, people can actually still back the campaign. So if your book's still in production, you can continue to make money.
Anyway, I don't want to derail this conversation, but I was just saying I'm going to tune in if you guys talk about that, because I'm going to have a lot of questions.
It's a valid question, because there seems to be at my case. And again, I was talking to Stephen about this before, because again, with all the success of the original Stoker and Wells Order of the Golden Dawn, I mean, you had Eddie Izzard contributing, backing this. He's a Kickstarter guy. Believe it or not, there are famous people but a lot of the people primarily know Kickstarter. So Steve and Barry is going into, and they love and Steve, we've had this conversation. They too love the Indiegogo platform. They love the audience because Steve has been, Steve writes our last She trilogy, and we'll be writing the next She trilogy with me. Well, no, he'll be writing it. I'll be drawing it with him. And it's incredibly this diverse social structure between two sects of people where they like to buy. Again, some people like to shop at Walmart. Some people like to shop at Target.
Is this like the newest version of like Coke versus Pepsi and Apple, Mac versus PC and that kind of thing?
100%.
Well, then what you should do,
Kickstarter has the brand recognition,
right?
Yeah, for sure. They've had more premier campaigns. Indiegogo is actually a couple years older than Kickstarter. They've been around a little longer.
I didn't know that.
But there's a bunch of new platforms that are launching. Some new ones will be coming out too. But right now it's a go between, and there's the big difference. There's a cultural difference between the two as well.
Right.
So there's
it would be
platforming. Certain creators on Kickstarter to the same situations happening on Indiegogo has driven some fans to only go with whichever platform that they feel aligns with themselves. Do business with people you like, people you think.
Yeah. Well, that's what you need. You need to have 2 or 3 from each camp on your show and do a debate, do a battle of the platforms discussion.
There won't be a winner. There won't be a winner. What you have to do is you got to find which platform aligns with, I guess your beliefs and what you want to do. And then you have to build your audience. That's where it goes. Where you start building your audience is where you need to stay.
I look at it this way. There are dog people and there are cat people. If you're from New York, you're either a Mets fan or a Yankees fan. Guess what? I like the Mets and the Yankees. I like dogs and cats. I like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I don't really.
I back the creators.
Steven. I'm trying to say you like snails and oysters.
Well said, my friend.
But Steve, which one do you prefer, snails or oysters?
Well, that's actually tough because I do like them both.
No. I had some delicious oysters last weekend with martinis.
Well, here's the thing. You got oysters of all sorts of varieties made all different ways. Oysters, and I would say snails is only one way to go, and that's made as escargot. Although I have had in a great Chinatown restaurant on Canal Street, oysters, snails a totally different way, but I've probably only had them 2 different ways in my life. It isn't quite the variety, so probably oysters over snails. Sorry.
Yeah. Steve, I have to say, Marcus Killigrew, I have to agree with Marcus Killigrew. I am a Yankees fan, and I agree with it 100%. I do, though. I would root for the Mets, the New York Metropolitans, if they do go to the playoffs and all. I will, unless they're playing my New York Yankees.
I think it is a crime when I hear a New Yorker and rooting against one of the New York teams in the World Series. I think that is a disgusting crime, my friend. Because why do I like them? Because they're so different. You have the Yankees, which is this historic organization. The house that Ruth built, everybody, whether you like them or not, they stand on the shoulders of this amazing, amazing history you can't separate from today's team. Separately, the Mets, these little underdogs. I'm from Long Island. I used to get the Delwood milk cartons. They had a little thing on the back. You clipped them out. And when you got 10 of them, you could get a ticket to then Shea Stadium. And I had a family I remember 50 milk cartons later, I had 5 tickets for the family to go to Shea Stadium and see the Mets.
The 69 Mets, greatest comeback story in history.
Absolutely. So I love both teams. They both embody to me the spirit of New York. I don't think there's some reason you have to love one of the. I mean, I'm fine if someone likes one over the other. I just personally see room to appreciate what both have.
I love Robert Romano says here, poor Mets with their $500 million payroll on their players. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Steven, Mark, Mr. Simon, thank you so much for coming aboard.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I did not tell you how much I loved your screenplay. We got to talk. I think I just got
What
caught
a
up in me just being perpetually 6 months behind in my work. Because I think I probably wanted to call you and just talk to you about it. And forgive me, that should be a
That's been
graphic
since
novel.
1995 too, so don't worry
Well,
about
if
it.
you want to,
No.
Billy, I gave it to you with the hopes that you would want to draw it.
Right? Yeah, but again, I'm 6. Yeah, I agree. I hear you, but I'm just so far behind. There's no way I could ever do. But I know far better artists than me.
I would
Well,
also
okay,
suggest
I'm
that-
Talk. We have to talk.
Try-
And
you know,
Alex,
Alex, if you have the opportunity, you need to lay Damocles' sword on him too, because it's right up his alley.
Ooh, all right.
Billy, you mean? Yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah.
Alex, you have to come down to San Diego, and you mark this year too.
I am.
Let's do it
I will be
Saturday
there.
night. Let's do Friday night. Let's.
What are the dates this year, Billy?
July 21st, I think, 22nd, something like that.
20th and 21st is probably that Friday.
Actually, that might work because my mom lives down in that area now, so I can kill two birds.
Yeah,
you can pop on the train and come down. You know,
exactly. That's what I would do anyway.
Soloff rents a sailboat.
Yeah.
Crash with Soloff.
Yeah, just what 6'2" Mark Alex Simon wants to do, sleep on a sailboat with
Soloff.
with 5 foot.
If you ask if you want to swab the deck, don't.
Yeah, but I think Soloff. I think
because he doesn't mean what you think.
He doesn't mean.
No, but it's a big sailboat. It's almost a cutter. And Soloff slept outside because it was the evenings are so nice in July in San Diego. He actually slept outside on the deck.
Alex isn't a share lodgings type.
No.
At this point.
All right.
Not unless I'm sharing it with
yeah, right.
Yeah.
A specific
All right,
set of
gentlemen.
circumstances, right?
Well, thank you both all of you so much. But Nile, thank you for creating all of this for all of us, Billy. And gentlemen, for being on here and being part of the show, I so appreciate it. It is a book I stand behind. You'll all be hearing a lot from me as the next 2 months, and I have no doubt that we'll get to the finish line with this. Thank you for
yes, sir.
for this
You absolutely
mission.
will, 100%. And Stephen, I hope you'll join us again. Sorry, next Thursday night on Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci, we're going to be launching the She Senryaku Omnibus Kickstarter.
Nice.
Wow.
That's gonna be a fun party. So have
By
it.
the way, your book, She that you sent me, the hardback version, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous.
This new one is the by far the most beautiful She book that we've ever produced, and I'm so proud of it. So thank you all, guys out there.
Thanks for having us.
The link for Stoker and Wells Indiegogo. This is a man that's going to Indiegogo. He's a Kickstarter star. He's coming to Indiegogo. Show that support. Please share it. Please pledge. And salute, Stephen.
All right. Thank you.
Last words, Stephen. Anything?
Thank you to people who have their faith in it, to the people who have gotten it. Look, I think you can never say, well, only 500. I mean, thank you. It's $500 that wasn't there an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. So thank you for that, and everybody and anybody who put in. You'll be pleased, and the next 500 will as well. No one owes me anything, and I'm very grateful for those who have contributed. So here is our link. You can find me on Facebook. I'm the Stephen Peros, who is not a realtor. There's only 2 of us out there.
There's another Stephen Peros.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's like a triathlete, so I guess got to keep up with this guy.
And he's got a really nice house.
Yeah, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
But-
super chat. Hang on, real quick. Nicholas Gear, $5. Thank you, my friend.
Mhm.
The Majors, a local minor league team, defeated the Yankees in 1949.
What?
Audie Murphy.
Murphy. Really?
Wow, Audie Murphy. We should celebrate him on Memorial Day and all the veterans.
I'm surprised that's not a movie.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So that team is called the Majors, and they beat the New York, the 1949 New York Yankees. So that's one of the greatest teams of all time.
And no question.
That's a story to tell.
Wow.
NG.
You know, when you're a kid and you grow up with watching the Gary Cooper and Pride of the Yankees with Babe Ruth actually in it, how can you not love the Yankees? I don't care where they go and what you don't like and the money and the this and the that. I mean, it's the Yankees, you know.
Yep. Greenville. That's Greenville. North Carolina or South Carolina?
One of those.
One of those.
All right.
On that note,
Love you all, guys. Please, all
for
you,
coming
I
on,
know a
Alex.
bunch of you watch our show afterwards. Please, in the when it's not live, please check out
Texas.
Stoker and Wells, Stephen Peros, Alex Simon, Mark Haynes, my brother, Nile Scala. Thank you guys for a wonderful show. Well
Thanks
done,
again,
guys,
man.
and
Thank
salute.
you.
And we will see you
Yes.
in the funny page.
Best of luck, Steve.
Cheers,
Thank you.
guys. Have a good night.
Good
See you.
night.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP.
joining us on
If
Pop
you haven't
XP.
already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.